Hello and welcome to Bucks Podcast. I'm Anthony Deneau along with Terrell Drevick, Kyle McEwen. We are back and excited to talk about the Milwaukee Bucks. Game 1 tonight, Damian Lillard's debut in Milwaukee against the 76ers. No James Harden, but the Bucks will come out on top by 1 point. It was the Bucks led pretty much throughout, and the score tells you that it was a 1 point game, but there was a buzzer beating three-pointer by the Sixers. The Bucks ultimately were up, by 4 going into that last possession. So kind of a meaningless 3 at the buzzer, unless you get fouled there, which, that's of course the goal. But overall, happy we get a Bucks win and Damian Lillard's debut. What did you guys think?
I mean, to call that last 3-pointer from D'Anthony Melton meaningless, really, it was pretty exciting to me. I'm sitting there and I'm like, oh my gosh, did he just get fouled? Because, it was like a 4-point game. Yeah. It went off the backboard, banked in. He was like fading away, twisting out at the 3-point line. I was like, there's no way. Oh my God. Wait, did something crazy just happen? Like I had to kind of bring myself back into reality there for a second.
Yeah.
Which those are the best, those are the kind of the best sports moments, even though ultimately meant nothing, is when you have that rapture where you're just seized up in it and you're like, oh my God, I can't believe what's happening. So thank you, D'Anthony Melton.
Terrell, what did you think of certainly the result is positive, but overall, what are your thoughts seeing Damian Lillard? Anything you saw in rotations, the staggering of Giannis and Damian Lillard? So pretty much one of them is always out there. That was fun to see. Less minutes from Chris Middleton. What were some of your takeaways, Terrell?
Yeah, the big one we should hit on right away is how is Damian Lillard going to play with Giannis Antetokounmpo? Coming into tonight's game, we get some high scorers. So Damian Lillard, he finished third last season in scoring, 32.2 points per game. Giannis was at 31.1 points per game. And then on the other side, we have Joel Embiid, who is last year's MVP at 33.1 points per game. So yeah, let's have the superstars out tonight. And they put on all of those players, all three players played a fantastic game. But let's talk about Bucks and Giannis and Dame. How are they going to play together? Tell you what, Dame Lillard, he played very, let's say, conservative for the first 3 or 4 minutes of the game.
Sure.
He wanted to get Giannis going right away. I liked what the Bucks did with Giannis. It looks like that's going to be the offensive game plan. Is they're going to run a 1-4 low set and then just bring Giannis to the free throw line, and he's going to act as like, I don't know what you want to call it, like the spider in the middle. You get him to the middle and just let him facilitate and let him kick the ball. I kind of like that style of offense. Now, the big question was, okay, when Giannis comes out and they start to bring in reserves, what's Damian Lillard going to do? I had a fear that Damian Lillard was going to force too many shots, shoot too much, and then next thing you know, the Bucks lose their rhythm. And tell you what, I was surprised to see that Damian Lillard, he got the ball moving offensively. It was a hot potato. It was great offense. I thought the reserves played really, really well tonight with Damian Lillard at the point. There was one series, one play I really liked. They ran it a couple times in the fourth quarter for Dame when he started cooking, but they ran a double high ball screen for him. That was dynamite the first time they did it. So it looks like our question has been answered. Can Dame play with Giannis? Yes. This season is going to be super exciting.
I mean, we would have been shocked if it didn't work out with these two guys, the best guy driving to the hoop and one of the best guys shooting from beyond the arc. So they just fit so well together. And we saw that with one sequence in the fourth quarter where Giannis went to the rack, he missed a shot, got his own rebound, missed another shot, and then looked outside, saw Lillard, threw it out beyond the arc. Lillard banged in a 3. Like, it's just beautiful to know that even when Giannis's effort isn't getting the job done, he can just chuck it out to his buddy to get even more points.
Yeah, it was great to see. Great to see at times. Like you said, we didn't see the best version of Damian Lillard. Maybe, I don't want to say timid, but yeah, I think maybe passive and conservative. And I don't think the other Bucks players were really looking for Dame as much as they could have had have been earlier, but that all turned around. He had 2 major stints, one in the second quarter, one in the fourth quarter. That really is the difference in the game when you look at how close it ended up and the runs that Lillard went on. He missed 8 threes, I think 4 of 12, but still hit some timely threes, and he looks so good driving to the rack. And you think about, it's hard not to compare him and what we've seen from the Bucks with Drew Holiday at point guard. The difference in Damian Lillard's ability to get fouled and then also hit free throws, like that percentage difference isn't, it seems like very little between Holiday and a Lillard, but it really makes a huge difference when you look at the volume and another guy on top of Giannis who gets to the free throw line for 10 plus free throws a game, or certainly has that ability on a nightly basis. To see those two come together and to see where Damian Lillard's going to fit defensively is something that I'm really keeping my eye on. Teams are going to hunt him in the low post. You never really would have saw that with Drew until we did with Jimmy in the playoffs, of course. But there's a lot of there's so much fun, different fun stuff to watch here, especially with a brand new head coach also. So we're getting to see his different philosophies of all the different places he's been and great players he's played with and coached with, and then had great head coaches he's coached under, winning a championship. And then tonight seeing 2 guys who coached with each other and then one for the other, winning a championship in Toronto in 2019 with Kawhi Leonard. Now and on different teams that they're both running the show against each other is just like such a fun, interesting storyline, I guess, between those two. And love that, of course, the Bucks and Adrian Griffin able to come out on top. Do you guys want to talk about rotations a little bit and who we saw, who we didn't see? I think, did we only see Campaign one time? Our new backup point guard. We did see him twice. Okay, I know he came in once in the first half, but he did get in the second half.
Yeah, very briefly. It was like around for 3 minutes in the second half.
Okay, Marjan, love that he was able to get in beginning of the second quarter and in the second half as well. He looked good out there at times. He, finished in transition, which we need from him. Tough defense. He's going to get a lot of those tough assignments, even though he's a second unit guy to start. Seeing him on Tyrese Maxey, and that's going to continue to be the case. When he comes in, he's going to have to take the other team's top guard or wing. And I think that's really important for him to develop in that role and really make that his thing. Anything else that you saw, Kyle?
It's it felt kind of standard there for a lot of the game. And then Damian Lillard taking over late was a revelation of sorts, because as much as Drew Holiday has that reputation of being a great defensive player, having Damian Lillard on the team to be able to get you to the line for easy points late, and the fact that he just him going down there and screaming, you're expecting a foul to get called or the whistle to blow. So it's reassuring, because there's been times in the past, especially with Chris Middleton's injuries in the last couple of years, that you stopped kind of believing that there was another option behind Giannis that you could rely on. And now it looks like, that Damian Lillard's just going to be there for the big shots. And we saw it multiple times already in this game, where you're sitting there and you're watching the particular possession kind of crumble, and then it gets passed out to Damian Lillard, and he's just like walking into a 3-pointer, doodly-doo, hanging out down the street.
The broken play 3, yeah, for sure. Yeah. The broken play 3.
Yeah.
Lillard 17 of 17 from the free throw line, Terrell, and then you've got Giannis at 3 of 9.
Yeah, I was taking notes during the game, and the very last comment I had was, do the Bucks finally have a closer? Because before this, it was go to Middleton. Middleton, his infamous move was back him down, shoot the fadeaway. He's automatic with that. But sometimes it gets a little it gets a little predictable. You need something different. So you go to Giannis. Well, what do you do with Giannis? Send him to the free throw line. He can't hit free throws. So it's like, okay, what are we supposed to do? Then you have this guy, Damian Lillard, who comes in 17 of 17 for free throws. Okay, he can create his own shot. He's got a terrific step back, and he can take it to the rim if he wants to. I think going down the stretch this season, if you need to get a bucket late in the game, Lillard's your guy. I think the Bucks finally have a closer. They answered the question. with Damian Lillard.
And did it feel like there was more room down in the paint? I mean, I'd probably need to watch the game again to really get a great feel for it. But there's definitely been games in the past where you're watching the Bucks play, and because the other team knows that all they really had to do was stop Giannis, they would do the Stan Van Gundy build a fucking
Build a
wall,
wall.
and you would just see tons of guys on defense all packed up in the paint, and that really wasn't the case necessarily with Giannis going in down there. A lot of the times it was one-on-one, and maybe that's just defensive strategy that the Sixers were living with. But man, it just felt like there was a little bit more space. And if that's a result of Damian Lillard already being shown out on the court, then it's going to be fun to watch the different lines that both these guys put up this year.
Yeah, Charles Barkley, he mentioned at halftime, the one thing that Giannis needs to work on with his game is to avoid the wall being set up, and that is sprint down the floor. I think last year Giannis played a lot of the point forward, and he can't quite transition out of that role yet now that Damian Lillard's here, because, well, if he's playing point forward, he's always going to be the one getting the ball from the inbound. I think right now, if he just puts that mindset where, hey, if I sprint down the floor, they can't set up the wall. Damian Lillard's going to push the ball. We saw it tonight with Beauchamp when he was running the floor. This Bucks team, they didn't have a fast break last year. Let's be honest. This season, what we saw tonight, this season's going to be really, really exciting to watch them in the fast break.
Yeah, they're going to be great on the break, and it's also going to lead to a lot more fun. I keep saying that. I'm just so excited about the season and watching Damian Lillard and how the Bucks are going to play, and especially on offense. But more lob plays, more easy bunny shots, basically, for Giannis. I mean, his field goal percentage is always ridiculous anyway, but you just add in the spacing that they'll have, and then the possibility of what Damian Lillard can do in transition. And Terrell, you and I here in Portland, we went to a game last year, Bucks visiting Portland, end of January. And I was really impressed by Lillard's attacking of the rim, even with Brook Lopez, in the way that the Bucks played defense and protecting the rim with Lopez under, Coach Bud in the last 5 years. But Damian Lillard, his ability to get to the rack and finish, in addition to get fouled, I was very impressed by that. And that's a whole nother aspect of, it's not just that Lillard can hit these 30-foot threes, but he can also do damage inside. And that's why he's able to get to the free throw line 17 times tonight. So Middleton, obviously on a minutes restriction, just 16 minutes from him. The starters, everyone else basically played 30. Lopez has got 29. So we'll round up with that. Bobby Portis, 19 minutes. Jay Crowder, 27. So he got a good chunk of minutes, and he came back in. Him and Beasley basically finished the game, as opposed to Middleton, who started the game. So you had basically Jay Crowder joining the starting five in place of Middleton to finish the game. I think that's why Jay Crowder got an extra bump in minutes there.
What'd you think of Middleton in the action that we did see him? It's a little bit frustrating to see him only playing 16 minutes. It's like, how slow are you bringing this guy along? It's, I mean, I guess you can, I don't know. If he's not ready to play, he's not ready to play too. 16 minutes is just, I don't know. It's weird to me.
And he wasn't really there a focal point of getting him the ball early. It wasn't until, was it the second half, maybe to start the second half, that he got some possessions where they were like, you go to work now. So I think he had one mid-range, one three-pointer, and that was about it. 2 for 5 on the night. So other than really 2 times that I feel like they're like, hey, this is Chris's time to go at it, see what he can do here. And like you said, Kyle, only 16 minutes. We really didn't get to see a great idea of how he fits into it. There was a possession, I think, in the first quarter where the ball swung around and Chris had an open three, and it was like, man, if he continues to get those opportunities, life's going to be pretty easy for Middleton. And I don't know if we are going to see that big of a dip in his offensive production as people might have thought. And maybe his assists go up, but his points go down slightly. But he's kind of been a 24-4 guy if you look, at his career. And I don't think he'll be too far off from that.
I mean, depending on how slowly they're going to bring along this minutes ramp up that they've got him
Sure.
on, look, Chris Middleton has the talent to be good. He just has to actually be healthy, and he showed a propensity to get a lot of assists last year in his short minutes that he was playing when he was healthy or trying to get healthy. So I wouldn't be surprised to see a good number of assists, plus just you're passing the ball to Damian Lillard, so you'd think that would result in, at least another assist or two every game. There was a really nice take where Chris Middleton got out on the fast break. Joel Embiid was following behind him, and Embiid like bodied him on the layup attempt. Middleton got fouled, but Middleton looked
Yes.
like he was almost smiling as he was going flying through the air. I was like, all right,
Middleton's
man, this
put on
guy's
so
healthy.
much muscle. He's put on so much muscle this offseason. And I know what play you're talking about, because Middleton, like, he felt that Embiid was there, and he almost slowed down to make sure he would get the foul. And then you look at Embiid, and you know it's a bad foul, but you knew that he was coming down to foul him. Like, there was no question that he was going to try and foul Middleton.
I also loved it because it was one of those moments where it's like sometimes you're watching NBA fouls and you're just like, man, let them play the damn game. But this was one of those fouls
That was a
he
legit
got
foul.
that dude.
Yeah. It was a 90s foul. It was a 90s foul.
Hey, Frony, you mentioned rotation. So there is one question out there that's outstanding, and we haven't addressed it yet, but it is the fourth spot in the lineup, which went to Beasley tonight. So throughout the summer, leading into the season, is it going to be Malik Beasley? Is it going to be Beauchamp? Or are we going to see maybe Connaughton step in and take that shooting guard role too? And, well, early on in the preseason, Malik Beasley, he started all preseason games at shooting guard. So it's a pretty clear indication that he was going to be the starter going into the season. Right now, my thoughts are, I think you leave him as a starter, because I think Beauchamp is better coming off the bench, in my opinion. And so is Connaughton too.
Yeah, I'm perfectly fine with the way they have it set up right now. Because Beasley's going to start, with that opening unit, he's going to get a lot of open 3-point chances. Whereas I think in some of the other second unit sets that you like Marjan as the defender, plus I think he's going to get to maybe get involved in other ways, whether that be steals, layups, fast breaks, but maybe playing with the second unit also allows him to actually look for his shot a little bit more. And looking at 16 minutes for Marjan, I'm pretty comfortable with that. Like, that's something he can do consistently, I'm hoping. And you look at it, and there's like very clear, like, these are your 5 starters, and then you have kind of you have 5 guys coming off the bench. So you had a perfect 5 for 5 of like who's slipping into what backup position, right? You have Campaign as the backup point guard. Seems like Marjan's the backup 2. You have Pat as the backup 3. And then you've got Crowder and Portis as your 4 and your 5 backup. And obviously you're going to mix and match. It's not just 5 for 5, especially the way they're stagging Giannis and Lillard, which is going to be really awesome.
I like that. Not staggering. They're stagging those dudes.
Stagging.
Because they're Bucks.
They're Bucks. Yeah, it's the stag
Staghorns.
sign. Yes. So I like Marjan getting 60 minutes. I was hoping to see AJJ tonight, but I think it's okay for some of the younger guys to not play right away. But he's someone that I'm just very high on, and I love the pick, and I love what he showed on defense in the preseason, and some of his highlights on offense too. But I think AJJ is going to be real good at some point. Obviously, I don't want to predict injuries, but some of these guys are going to get some playing time at some point, and I think AJJ and his defense is at some point is going to get stuck or stick himself in the rotation, because he's just going to have to be played.
It's funny. There's a part of me that looks at the rotation from tonight, and I'm like, man, 10 guys. I don't know. I'd rather it be 9 or even 8 some nights. But and there's multiple reasons for looking at it that way. One is so that you just have more depth actually sitting on the bench if there is an injury. And 2 is because there isn't any extra depth beyond those 10 guys. Like Andre Jackson Jr., AJJ, as you call him, yeah, I want to see him be in the rotation and get minutes, but like I really could do without watching pretty much everybody else that's on the bench. And yeah. So, anyways, that's neither here nor there in a lot of ways. I thought Jay Crowder looked really good tonight. You know, after being tied to the bench last season under Budenholzer, after getting brought onto the team late, it's refreshing to see Crowder out there taking confident shots, making them, and just you could feel his presence on the court defensively, I think, at times.
Yeah, that was the turning point in the game tonight. We saw the Sixers go on a 14-0 run. The Bucks needed an answer. So Brook Lopez, he hit the first wide open three. And then the next trip down, back-to-back threes, was the second one was Jay Crowder. And that's when the energy in the building started to come to life a little bit.
I like Malik Beasley a little bit in the starting lineup because he's more of a threat, maybe not even like in reality as much as than Marjon Beauchamp, but like he's psychology wise, he's going to other teams are going to guard Malik Beasley out at the 3-point line. Whereas if Marjon Beauchamp was out there with the starters, teams would be scheming all the time, probably just not to guard him. And that might allow them to kind of slide a little bit more towards Damian Lillard or towards Giannis and kind of pack in a little bit more pressure there. So
yeah, that's a good point. Beasley does stretch the defense with his 3-point shot.
People don't like Beasley's defense, and that's like the one criticism. John Hollinger is always tweeting out, "Oh, I don't know how the Bucks think they can play Damian Lillard and Malik Beasley together in that backcourt defensively." And but if you were watching Malik Beasley play defense today, you will notice he was playing so hard. There was even one play where he guarded Brook Lopez out at the 3-point line.
I think Beasley's really accepted his role that he needs to be not just a 3 guy, as he led the all bench players last year in 3-pointers made. But I think he's really taken on the role that he knows that to be that 5th starter, that he has to have the D of the 3 and D. He cannot just be an offensive player. And what I saw in preseason was a lot of effort. Like you said, Kyle, tonight I saw a lot of effort. And so that's a lot of the thing is a coach getting the most out of his guys. And so guys do sometimes get bad raps because they're, maybe they're sporadic defenders, but if, maybe AG is a good enough coach where he can get effort out of guys that have only been considered a one-way player.
Malik said he's going to change his name to Malik Beasley.
Oh, great. All right. So no James Harden, kind of just a weird situation that's been with him, with his beef with the front office to saying that he would never work with the general manager again, or Daryl Morey again. I can't see, maybe he's, basketball operations, blah, blah. But that's also, someone he worked with in Houston that helped bring him now to Philadelphia that he said he would never work with again. And he was not going to, he's going to kind of make things ugly, and maybe he wasn't going to show up to preseason. Maybe he wasn't. Now he tried to get on the plane, but they wouldn't let him on the plane. Anyway, he didn't play tonight, and that's all kind of a mess. Do you guys have any comments on that or anything other Sixers-wise, things that you saw tonight?
It's a little bit frustrating that they were as competitive with the Bucks without James Harden.
Yeah, absolutely. That's my worry about some of the Lillard on defense stuff. And I mean, I know that the Bucks are still learning new systems and all that jazz, but I think this season we're going to see a lot of track meets. We're going to see a lot of high scores. The Bucks are going to give up a ton, but they're going to score more than their opponent way more often than not.
You know what's kind of funny is that Tyrese Maxey played like an old version of Harden in some respects tonight. Like driving to the rim, getting to the free throw line, putting pressure on the defense. Like
I love him. I love his game.
And that's been the frustration with people watching Harden or just, observing him the last couple seasons ever since leaving Houston, is that ever since leaving Houston, Harden stopped playing like James Harden and he started trying to be like Steve Nash or some baloney.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, I love seeing what we saw from Tyrese Maxey. It was one of those Kelly Oubre nights where lefty just couldn't miss anything. He was going to the rack, getting hit, and still banking it in.
Kyle,
So,
with Serge Ibaka out of the league, is Kelly Oubre the most handsome NBA player?
ooh, I
This
like
is what the
calling Kelly
fans want to
Oubre
know.
knockout because is KO, and he's
Yeah,
a knockout because he's so
and
dang handsome.
you're
Yeah.
darn right he is.
But
Uh,
no, I mean Kelly Oubre is one of he's not even just like handsome. He's like he's even prettier than Rick Fox. So like,
without a doubt.
yeah.
One of my
But
favorite
not
members
as
of the
good
Casa
on
Party now.
defense as Rick Fox was. So
There you go. Terrell, where do you stand on this?
I don't know what to say.
we haven't had the handsomest guys in the NBA discussion in quite some time, but
That's very true. It's time to
Kelly
update
Oubre's
without
been there
Serge.
for quite a
Yeah.
while.
So Oubre last year, 20-point scorer on a really bad team, the Charlotte Hornets, but 27 tonight, 5 of 6 from 3. He's in a better situation on a better team, might not get the opportunities if James Harden is regularly in the offense. But I mean, God, 9 of 11 too he was tonight. That's if he can continue to produce at the rate that he did when he was on a bad team, now that he's maybe in a, certainly a team that should be a playoff team, not necessarily a final contender, just until the James Harden situation gets officially rattled out and to see where everyone ends up with all that. But he's like
I
like this
6'7".
spot for him.
He's a wing who can score in multiple ways. It's kind of funny that no teams wanted to sign him.
I couldn't believe that. He's one of the
on a minimum contract. Like that's
one of the
nuts.
last free agents to sign. This guy 20 points in maybe not even into the peak of his career probably. It's kind of a bizarre thing, but it's when it's those guys in those situations that sometimes you worry about how they are in the locker room. And he's been with a number of teams, Wizards, Suns, Hornets, Sixers, and no team wanted to sign him. Those are the guys you worry a little bit about.
He
how
always
they
has
are
his
in the
hair
locker
dyed.
rooms and the
Is
mental
he
side of things.
dyeing his hair in the locker room? Because we know how bad that smells when you're bleaching your hair. Ooh, that is just it's like ammonia.
Terrell didn't know what he was signing up for tonight.
You guys have never bleached your hair growing up?
I have not, and somehow I lived through the height of the boy band era, and somehow I never bleached my hair blonde. But it is on my bucket list.
Not even your tips? You never bleach your tips?
Oh,
no,
the frosted
I never.
tips? That
I
was
never
big.
bleached my tips. I don't want. I'm not copping to that.
I would do like a Dennis Schroeder, perhaps. Just
just a spot,
just a glob, just a glob.
The Wiz Khalifa.
I always thought that was like
just a
a birthmark on his hair.
No, that's hilarious. He doesn't have it right now. He looks good. He looked good in Toronto with his current haircut. It was like hard to. I almost didn't recognize him. But Terrell, any Sixers notes from you guys?
One of the cooler things I thought was that cat Jaden Springer coming in and having like two of the coolest blocks I've ever seen.
That was really
I'm glad
cool.
you brought that up. Jaden Springer, he only had 5 minutes tonight. Like the guy
2
can
blocks
play.
in
He
5
was
minutes.
He was the G League MVP last season.
Yeah, Finals MVP, right?
Yep.
He gave really good minutes tonight, but I don't know.
Yeah, it's cool that a guy who comes in and plays the least amount of minutes on that team, like he made himself known.
Those two, if you were to look at the highlights of the game, I mean, his 2 blocks would be on there. It was fun to watch, and when you say that, I didn't even really realize that he only played 5 minutes and got those 2 blocks. But yeah, that was. I mean, he's got some absolute spring. His name is Springer. I mean, Jesus.
Yeah. Well, and he's just the cool thing about him is that he's versatile. He's got good size for a guy with guard skills, and he can, he plays hard on defense. He can do some pretty fun stuff on defense. So yeah, it's the Sixers have some interesting guys. I love that DeAnthony Melton's getting a look starting with Harden not really in the mix.
Agreed.
I would love to see the Paul Reed project continue to expand and be looked at, maybe playing more next to Joel Embiid. But I'm also glad that the team's using Paul Reed as their backup at center for Embiid, so that we don't have to watch a lot of minutes of guys like Mo Bamba. Another cool thing about the Nick Nurse era with the Sixers, Joel Embiid played 36 minutes. Like Tyrese Maxey played 40 minutes. Nick Nurse plays his dudes really big minutes. I kind of wonder if the change in coaching for the Bucks from Budenholzer to Adrian Griffin is going to mean maybe an extra minute or 3 for Giannis this year.
I would say tonight the answer is yes, Terrell.
Agreed. Totally.
It seemed that way. And there was even a moment where Griffin was going to take Giannis out, and Giannis was like, dude, you got to put me back in. And the commentators were talking about it, saying that, like, well, the team wants to be smart with, the guy's minutes, but it's cool to see, like, they acknowledged the whole situation. The fact that Giannis was like, man, don't be pulling me out now. Put my butt back in there. So,
and it was just for one extra possession, but there was a conversation. Giannis came out, Pat Connaughton came in. Then you saw a conversation of Giannis pleading his case to Adrian Griffin about, why he needs to leave him back in. And Adrian Griffin listened to him. He's like, okay, all right. He's like, yeah, all right. So he comes back. Giannis goes back in. Pat Connaughton comes back out. And it was just for like another possession or something like that. Did you guys, that was a weird, I'm sure there's something in the post game that we'll be able to get to on our next show, but
the only thing I can think of is PJ Tucker was out of the game, and Giannis is like, no, keep me back in the game for at least one more possession. But I have to go back and watch it because it was really strange.
That's right, because they were matching PJ Tucker's minutes with Giannis early in the game. Kyle, like you said, more minutes. Nick Nurse's system. Adrian Griffin has followed Nick Nurse around. They've been with him the last 5 years. And will we see more minutes from the Bucks and their star players? Game 1, Lillard 37 minutes, 39 points. Giannis 35 minutes and 23 points. I think that is more than what we would have seen. We probably would have gotten like 28 to 30, maybe 32 tops in a season opener in the Bud era. But 35 from Giannis, 37 from Lillard. And if Middleton was healthy, I think we would have seen close to that as well.
There was a funny comment from Griffin yesterday about Middleton's minutes coming into today's game, and it was that he's not going to play. It's probably going to be somewhere between the 12 and 30. The 12 he played in the previous game, and the only game that Middleton played in the preseason, and then 35. And you're just like, wait a minute. Is Griffin planning on playing his top guys like 35 minutes? And like that doesn't sound like a lot compared to a lot of other teams and a lot of other coaches. But after so many years of Budenholzer keeping all of the Bucks guys at 34 minutes, 33 minutes, 32, getting your stars up to 35 minutes. If you're a stat tracking maniac, it's fun to see how much more guys can produce with just an extra minute or 3 in the box score every night.
It's funny the Bucks, 11 from 30 tonight from three-point land, as they say. So that's just under 37%. I guess that's all right. What do we get from the Sixers? We got 16 of 35. So they were almost 46%.
That kind of scares me a little bit. Thinking about it too, like the perimeter defense was talked about going to be a problem because there's no Drew Holiday. He's one of the better perimeter defenders in the league, and it's like, okay, is this a telltale sign of what's going to happen in the season? Because that worries me when you play a team like Boston and they're going to jack up 40 3-pointers a night. How do you stop that if they start hitting? You don't have the right perimeter defenders to stop that.
Yeah, but one thing we didn't see, did we see a Giannis as center lineup tonight? Because it really seemed, I don't feel like we did. And I think that is the team that is going to be the best for matching up with a team that's going to shoot a bunch of threes and be really perimeter heavy, right? Like with Brooke and Bobby off the floor.
Kind of depends on how you view those Bobby Portis and Giannis lineups.
Sure, that's a good point.
Giannis was matched up with Embiid at times. I'm sorry, man. I totally interrupted you on that.
No, that's good. Bobby was as well. We saw Bobby on Joel Embiid as well at different times. But I think that, to me, the Giannis at center lineup, which I don't think we saw tonight, That's the one that I think is going to be the best against some of those teams that are going to jack up, like you said, Terrell, 43s.
Okay, is there anything the Bucks need? I guess after losing Drew Holiday, a lot of us are going to sit there and say, well, they need defense, but I don't know, man. Like if you really need to stop on defense, yeah, it's just comparing to it's the comparisons to Drew Holiday. When you think about Drew Holiday playing defense on somebody, it gives you this like comfy blanket feeling of he's going to make them not like themselves in this play. Whereas like when you think about, I thing is, I think Giannis can do all that. It's just you don't like putting that responsibility on him when he's doing everything else. However, when it matters in the playoffs, you do want your best players out there, and you do have Giannis Antetokounmpo, who didn't he win Defensive Player of the Year?
Yes.
Okay, what the funk? Like Jay Crowder has the size and the ability to he may be inconsistent from game to game and stuff like that, but to be good on defense. Pat Connaughton at least has good size as a wing guy. Marjon Beauchamp, that's his jam. He's supposed to be good on defense, right? He's supposed to be intimidating on defense.
Yeah.
Chris Middleton, if healthy, that's like his thing. He's always been known as a great two-way player. So, and then Michael Beasley. I mean, Michael Beasley's cousin who is good at defense. Yeah, I don't know.
Malik?
I guess, is there anything? Did I call him Mike?
Yeah.
Michael Beasley. But he's former Buck. He's a former Buck. Kansas State, Miami Heat.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, to answer your question, Kyle, do the Bucks need to make a move this season? The answer right now is no. They have all the pieces.
I agree. Right now it's no. And if you want to get an extra defender, I think then AJJ gets a look. If you need another 3-point shooter, I think AJ Green gets a look. I think that maybe we stressed out a little bit on who's going to be the backup point guard. They only used Campaign for 9 minutes tonight. There'll be other games where he makes more sense in other lineups that, like, Brook played a lot tonight, maybe, or more so because of you're playing Joel Embiid, whereas at times down the stretch, you might not have Brook Lopez playing the last few minutes of a game because you just don't match up with the other team in that way, and that Lopez might not be a fit at the end of a game, depending on the team and depending on who they're putting out there. So I don't know. It's tough. I would say we need to see these pieces first before we say they're going to need something. But my worry is like tonight, they can get a 20-point lead like that, but with their perimeter defense, they can also give it up just as fast and let a team back in the game. Whereas in years previous with Drew, I felt pretty comfortable once the Bucks got to a certain lead that game was over halfway through the third at times. Maybe early fourth, since they were bad in the third for quite a while. But I just felt, I guess, a little bit safer with leads with Drew Holiday, whereas with the current setup right now, that's a little bit worrisome. But man, they're so fun to watch on offense and they don't even have it down yet. Like, they don't even quite have it together. They're not fully in sync. The way this looks like, I don't know, 6 weeks from now, when you get Middleton playing 25 to 30 to 35 minutes, and these guys have played a little bit, and maybe Giannis does start streaking down court and giving the ball up to Lillard a little bit more.
He's going to start playing naked?
He's streaking through the quad, man.
Old school, hey.
Yeah. There's a lot of excitement, even with the guys they didn't play tonight. And if they do end up getting up big on a team, I'm excited to see. I don't know what Thanasis did in preseason was fun to watch, man. I don't know. Maybe he can be under control a little bit, and to see some of the young guys too, HHJ, Livingston, more AJ Green. I'm just saying I like the pieces they have. I'm not ready to say that they're in desperate need of something.
Did you guys see the? Yeah, I know. There's a part of me that wanted to get all crazy and start throwing things out like, well, what would happen if the Golden State Warriors trade away Chris Paul to another team, and then that team ends up waiving Chris Paul or buying him out, and then Chris Paul ends up coming to the crazy stuff.
Oh,
like that.
you know what? That might be their best route to picking up a player.
Yeah.
Because I think they like their young guys right now. So I don't see them making a move unless there is an injury or something like that. But I could see that being an addition is a buyout candidate. Yeah.
Yep. So
They'll be a top destination. The question is, what will that player's role be? Because I don't know. We'll see. We'll see how it goes.
Yep. One good note on Thanasis. I can often be a detractor in regards to the whole sign in your family guys as like roster filler thing. But there was this story that came out earlier this week where Giannis shared why he decided to sign the extension with the Bucks this week. And it was all about how he was talking to GMTA, his brother Thanasis. And Thanasis just explained it to him like, dude, just do it, shut up the media, take the $136 extra million that they're going to give you. Like, don't wait until next. Like, there's so many reasons. And it's just like, people don't realize Giannis doesn't even have another conversation with anybody else unless his brother's on this team. So the fact that Giannis just signed a 3-year extension with his team, Thanasis can be on roster for as long as he wants, even after Giannis is gone. Like, he can just be on the roster.
I agree.
Forever.
Absolutely.
He's the Udonis Haslam of the Milwaukee Bucks.
Yep. Another thing is, like, when you have that guy, he's not like a bad locker room guy. He is, if you look when he gets minutes, he is absolutely athletic enough. And when he did get a start against the Knicks a couple years ago, like, he did put up, darn near 30 points and was playing point guard. Like, there was, I don't know. People like to kind of crap on Thanasis and his role, but he's worth every penny. He's worth every penny, and he's great in the locker room. Everyone loves him. He's also like a little bit of an igniter when he comes in. It's like the Scalabrinis of the world, the Bobans of the world, like these players that come in at the end of the game. That's kind of you're up or down by 20. It's fun for the fans. He is a highlight reel. When he's out there, he's looking for highlight blocks and highlight dunks. He's gonna give you effort. He's the biggest cheerleader on the bench, and like I said, great in the locker room. Like, it's okay to have guys. Like, not all 15 guys on your team need to be playing 25 minutes or doing all this stuff or be this project or whatever it might be. Like, it's all perfectly okay to have guys like this on your roster. And I know he gets a lot of flack for it, and a lot of other teams seem to laugh when he is in and getting all hyped up. And I don't know. I think it's fun and entertaining. There was a while where I was like, I just don't get it. But he was on such bad terms with Coach Bud. I'm interested to see, just from what I saw in preseason, to see what things might open up for him in in little spurts, whereas he had totally fallen off Bud's radar really since they won a championship. Terrell, you okay with Thanasis being on the team if it keeps Giannis there?
Yeah, and Robin Lopez as well. Keep them both on the team.
You know how you knew Drew Holiday wasn't going to stick on the Bucks? They never signed either of his brothers.
That's a good point.
And he's got 2 of them in the league. That's how you knew Drew wasn't sticking around.
Yeah, well, they're not going to sign actual rotation players.
All right, fellas. I do want to let everybody know that we are going to change the format a little bit. We did a post game tonight, which is what we are accustomed to doing, what we did all through last season, and we'll do occasionally throughout this season. But I think it makes sense for all of us and maybe our sanities, and at least until closer to springtime and getting into the NBA playoffs, that we do a little bit different of a format. We're going to try and give you guys episodes on Saturdays, starting next Saturday, since we're doing this this Game 1 tip-off Damian Lillard debut show for you guys, and we're very excited to do it. But we're going to start doing Saturday mornings. You can catch us Saturday mornings as you are right here, all the same places. And we're only streaming on OnlyFans now. So I know. Yes, and if you have the premium grinder package, we are.
Again, this is only Franz. It's the Franz Wagner
Yeah,
NBA version.
that's great. Oh,
Yeah.
so special. You guys have anything you want to get to before we get out of here?
Upcoming games. We have Sunday, Bucks take on the Hawks, and then on Monday, the Bucks will play the Heat, both home games.
There you go. First back-to-back. The Bucks start the season with 3 home games after not playing the last 2 nights. So the Bucks will have played 4 games by the next time we come to you guys next Saturday. And I think that is going to be November 4th. You can catch us live, same place that you are here. Check us out. We're on all, Milwaukee Bucks Podcast, Bango Buck on Facebook. We're on all the different platforms. We appreciate you guys checking us out, staying with us. Please like, review, rate, comment, anything that you have. All your feedback is extremely helpful, and give us a follow. And we will catch you next time. Thank you guys so much.
Right, homework assignment for anybody who doesn't really watch Atlanta Hawks that much, since they're the next team, and since Jalen Johnson is a Wisconsin boy. Go watch Jalen Johnson's highlights from the first game. He had a career high, I believe, 21 or 22 points with
breakout candidate. Yeah, breakout candidate. One of my top breakout candidates for the year. And Wisconsin guys are going to be doing it this year. Tyrese Halliburton. You mentioned Jalen Johnson. You got Jordan Poole for the Wizards is going to be putting up all sorts of crazy numbers. Not on a good team, but he's going to be lighting it up. You still got Johnny Davis over on that team as well. That could be a fun backcourt. I don't think we saw Johnny Davis in the Wizards debut, but hopefully he can improve and get himself on the court at some point.
Yeah, Johnny Davis has a little bit of an injury right now, so that's why he didn't.
Oh, thank you.
Play in the opener. Yep.
Good heads up, man. Just another reason why we love Kyle and we love having him here on the show.
Thanks. You're welcome.
Thanks. You're welcome.
And on a team, what's funny is if you haven't watched Jalen Johnson yet, what you'll see from these highlights from that first game is that on a team with Trae Young, he's the most exciting player.
There you go. All you need to hear, folks. I covered him for radio as a freshman in high school in Sun Prairie, and man, he could light it up then. And like I said, breakout candidate for this season, 23-24 NBA Atlanta Hawks. And then also you have Milwaukee Bucks head coach Adrian Griffin. His son is also a very exciting player on the Atlanta Hawks.
So we're going to be able to watch Adrian Griffin, watching Adrian Griffin, watching Adrian Griffin.
Whoa. There we go. That's the inception of NBA basketball. Terrell needs to pick up his exploding brain from the floor. All right. For Kyle, I'm Anthony, and Terrell. I didn't do that right. That's fine. Catch us next time. Thank you guys so much for checking us out. We will see you next Saturday, November 4th, for our next episode. Thanks for checking out Bucks Podcast.